Hey, speaking of pigskin, Donald Trump, in his ongoing effort to distract us from the fact that he doesn't want Melania to see the Epstein files, went after Rosie O'Donnell again. He's been threatening to revoke Rosie O'Donnell's American citizenship, which, like peeing standing up, he cannot do.
I love that because Trump is always
a president that actually, had the worst tribulations our country has ever faced and brought us together. Now, the opposite is happening right now. We have a president who started out when the country was together and had a wonderful leader, and he is tearing us limb from limb, destroying every institution.
The opening moment sets the comedic tone instantly. Kimmel transitions from casual banter to sharp satire, using the setup "speaking of pigskin" to pivot toward politics with effortless wit. His jab at Trump's attempt to revoke Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship isn't just a punchline. It exposes the absurdity of performative outrage. The mock seriousness contrasts beautifully with the ridiculousness of the claim, drawing laughter from the sheer impossibility of such an act. By comparing Trump's empty threats to something as mundane as peeing standing up, Kimmel punctures any pretense of authority, reducing a presidential outburst to childish bluster.
He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
With modern times, he criticized capitalism without a conscience. And that's what we have now. We have capitalism without a conscience. He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal, dehumanizing industrial age. He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils: hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power.
The energy builds as Kimmel mocks Trump's tendency to turn every confrontation into a self-inflicted spectacle. His reflection that Trump tried to cancel me, yet forced millions to watch, highlights how Trump's obsession with attention often backfires spectacularly. The phrase "backfired bigly" is a deliberate parody of Trump's own linguistic quirks, turning his signature verbal style into a comedic weapon. The line about releasing the Epstein files to distract us from this doubles as both a punchline and political commentary, implying Trump's use of scandal as camouflage for deeper insecurities and failures.
And before I share this, I'd like to remind you, this is a post from the President of the United States. He wrote, "As previously mentioned, we are giving serious thought to taking away Rosie's citizenship. She is not a great American and is, in my opinion, incapable of being so." Here's the thing, whenever he's spitting out, he goes back to Rosie. That's his safe space. He zeroes out.
When Jim Carrey enters the exchange, his humor veers into surreal absurdity. Calling Trump a car salesman, and then a carman, distills the essence of his satire: the endless self-promotion and hollow charisma of someone always trying to sell something. The metaphor of turning back the odometer brilliantly conveys regression disguised as progress, a jab at Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," twisted to reveal its nostalgic deceit. Carrey's delivery, manic yet precise, turns the absurdity of modern politics into a mirror of cultural decay, where marketing replaces leadership and slogans mask decay.
He's a car salesman. He's a used car salesman.
Absolutely.
And he's, he didn't make America great again, but he did turn back the odometer. So who knows what the hell is wrong with us?
But as I watched,
unfortunately, we're in the back seat, right?
Right.
We're not in control.
As I watched this week, what I kept thinking was, it all comes down to this case of narcissistic personality disorder. We've all talked about it since he's been on the public scene.
Kimmel's reflection introduces psychological depth beneath the comedy. When he observes Trump's narcissistic personality disorder, he transcends mere mockery, diagnosing the dysfunction underpinning the chaos. The metaphor of riding in the back seat underscores a sense of collective helplessness, as if the public is trapped while an unstable driver veers toward disaster. This moment captures the eerie blend of humor and horror defining Trump-era satire. Laughter born from disbelief, discomfort, and a desperate need to find sense in nonsense.
Calling her fat is what makes him comfortable. Meanwhile, she's about half his weight now. In fact, this photo he posted, she posted the photo. This photo he posted looks really more like him than her. It's Rosie O'Donnell. How can someone so old be so childish? It's Benjamin can't button his pants.
The exchange about Rosie O'Donnell exposes Trump's obsession with personal grudges and image control. Kimmel's observation that calling Rosie fat comforts Trump cuts to the core of his bullying instinct, belittling others to mask insecurity. The quip that she's half his weight now lands not only as a joke, but as irony, mocking a man whose attacks age poorly in a culture moving beyond body shaming. Carrey's interjection, likening Trump to Benjamin who can't button his pants, warps the insult into absurd visual comedy. The humor disarms cruelty, reclaiming power through ridicule.
But we see it in real time. Somebody really unraveling, spiraling toward madness.
So I'm an asshole? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. We're talking
Oh, you're not talking about You're talking about something.
There was a tape of him talking to Bob Woodward, right? We heard that this week. At the end of it, he gets a little frustrated and he says, well, accurate is that nobody's ever done a better job than I'm doing as president. He says, how can you...
Job of what? Job of what? Demolition Man?
Right.
This segment captures Kimmel's knack for using Trump's own words as ammunition. The reference to his conversation with Bob Woodward, where Trump declares himself the best president ever, becomes a setup for a devastatingly simple punchline. Job of what? The absurdity of self-praise without substance collapses under its own weight. Carrey's interruption, calling him Demolition Man, sharpens the critique. Together, they transform hubris into self-parody, revealing how Trump's own rhetoric is more damaging than any external criticism could be.
They kicked the can in the hopes that, I don't know, we'd be hit by a tidal wave or something, it would wash away, but it didn't wash away. So they tried another dumb idea. Again, this time the House Oversight Committee released some of the Epstein files, around 33,000 pages of the Epstein files, the vast majority of which had already been released. You would think that of all the cases, the one for Jeffrey Epstein would get a full release, but no.
Kimmel pivots from satire to cynicism, exposing the farcical handling of serious issues like the Epstein files. The line about hoping a tidal wave would wash it away skewers political cowardice, leaders betting on distraction rather than accountability. His tone blends exasperation with disbelief, underscoring the dysfunction of a government too paralyzed by self-preservation to confront truth. Humor becomes a vessel for moral frustration, converting outrage into something palatable yet pointed.
We are fighting those same evils today. In America, in the United Kingdom, across the globe. And we need to be clear, shamelessness is not and will never be a superpower. It is the mark of a villain. Kidnapping children is not what great nations do. Almost half of America at this moment believes there is a sinister deep state diabolically plotting to what? Give them health care?
Here, Carrey turns his surreal humor toward Trump's vanity. The comparison to a Norman Rockwell painting, and the riff on Trump's signature ending with a long D blur the line between art critique and character assassination. The humor is risque yet layered. It mocks not anatomy but ego. By turning Trump's literal signature into a metaphor for overcompensation, Carrey crystallizes the entire persona in one stroke, loud, exaggerated, and desperate for validation. It's visual satire masquerading as stand-up.
There was some new information in the documents. Contrary to what Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi said, there was video of that missing minute of security footage shot outside Epstein's cell. That footage somehow this footage got re-edited more times than the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. And it's a big problem for Trump because the push to release the names isn't just coming from the left. This is a bipartisan effort. It's coming from inside the House.
Kimmel's tone here is investigative yet comedic. His rhetorical question, who would fake Trump's signature in 2003, casts doubt on conspiracy theories while amplifying their absurdity. The humor lies in the implausibility of the setup, an elaborate forgery for a book no one cared about decades ago. By reminding the audience that The Apprentice wasn't even on air yet, Kimmel contextualizes Trump's later fame as accidental rather than earned. The absurdity of overplanning becomes the punchline.
Saying Trump is an artist. This isn't exactly a Norman Rockwell. No one is hanging this in a museum. Their other proof he didn't do it is the signature. They say it doesn't look like his signature. It sure does to me. Especially when you compare it to other Trump signatures from that era. They're almost exactly the same. They all end with a long D, which I can only assume is Trump overcompensating for a small.
Kimmel closes the sequence with a geographical punch. Poland had the misfortune to visit in the middle of Hurricane Epstein. The line fuses politics, scandal, and weather in a single metaphorical storm. The description of Republicans taking early recess to avoid voting merges irony with condemnation. The nickname Orange Julius Caesar lands as the comedic climax, a perfect blend of ridicule and historical illusion. It captures the inflated self-image of a man who sees dictatorship as destiny, but ends up a punchline instead.
The other thing, this book is 22 years old. Who would have been faking Donald Trump's signature in a private birthday book in January of 2003? The Apprentice wasn't even on the air yet. This would require an extraordinary amount of planning. Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, the woman who keeps insisting Trump didn't draw this or sign this in 2003, she was 5 years old. She was too young even for Jeffrey Epstein in 2003.
Revisiting Trump's fixation on distractions, Kimmel exposes the cyclical absurdity of his behavior. Each scandal births another as a smokescreen, creating an infinite loop of self-inflicted chaos. The humor lies in predictability. Audiences laugh not because it's surprising, but because it's tragically routine. Kimmel's delivery weaponizes exhaustion, turning fatigue into laughter as a coping mechanism.
And had the misfortune to visit in the middle of Hurricane Epstein. As you probably know, Republicans forced an early recess over the summer to avoid having to vote on whether to release the Epstein files, which many of them do not want to do because it would upset Orange Julius Caesar bigly.
Carrey's surrealism deepens here. His metaphor of turning back the odometer evolves into an image of collective regression. Society willingly cruising backward, pretending it's progress. The laughter carries discomfort, a realization that the absurdity he portrays is rooted in truth. Through exaggeration, Carrey uncovers what rational discourse cannot: the emotional cost of living inside a parody. Kimmel and Carrey's chemistry shines when they riff on Trump's psychological unraveling. Their quick-fire banter, "You're not talking, you're talking," mimics Trump's incoherent style, turning confusion into choreography. The laughter this evokes isn't light, it's cathartic. They give shape to collective bewilderment, transforming political madness into performance art. The humor surrounding the Epstein files reveals deeper commentary about power and evasion. Kimmel's mockery of partial file releases reflects public frustration with selective transparency. By framing it comedically, he defangs despair, allowing the audience to laugh at corruption's brazenness. Carrey's energy complements this by visualizing absurdity as spectacle, turning real political horror into surreal theater. In culmination, their exchanges dismantle not just Trump's persona, but the larger absurdity of modern politics as entertainment. Every insult, interruption, and punchline reveals a truth: that authority without accountability inevitably becomes farce. Kimmel's wit and Carrey's chaos converge into a cultural exorcism, purging delusion through laughter. By the end, the audience isn't just laughing at Trump. They're laughing through the pain of having lived his presidency as a never-ending, unwanted performance.